Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live. As always, my name is Josh Lilquist with my good friend and my good pal, the one and the only Mr. Al Connickson. And on the last segment, we were talking about freedom of time. People are looking for freedom of time to have more choices in their life. And it comes down to having the right strategy, a consistent strategy, but also having the right mentor or coach, especially if you're looking for that to be financial, right? And to have that consistency of someone teaching you how to practice correctly or practice right, that changes the game in your financial decisions, because we can go out there and do things over and over and over again as many times as we want in the financial markets. But if you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong and you can't get better. And that's why we have 40 different instructors here at the Academy to train and teach and hands-on learning on the financial markets to make smart investing decisions. And we had a lot of people texting in for that workshop here at the Academy. In 10 seconds, I know there's more that's covered. Let's try this. I'll give you 20 this time. In 20 seconds, just give a brief description on some other topics that are covered in this investing class, and then I'll give away some seats for that.
Yeah, well, as I think I just started mentioning the fact that we talk about the different assets that are available. If you're looking for income, there are assets that you can use and strategies that are really perfect for generating additional income. There are some that are better for wealth. So we talk about the difference really between the two and how you use the market for each of those.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because on this segment, we're actually going to talk about those income assets. But to come into one of these workshops, simply just text the word investing to the number 210, and that's for 2 seats. You'll get a text right back, and you'll have a link in that text. Make sure to pick that link and pick your own date here. We have several classes throughout the week. Mornings, afternoons, evenings, and weekends. So text investing to the number 210. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast: Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. That's Investing and Trading Live. So, Al, as you mentioned, there's different assets for income. There's different assets designed for wealth as well. This segment, let's talk about those income assets, because we were kind of alluding to freedom of time. And you mentioned earlier in the second segment that living isn't cheap. It's not getting any cheaper. It's not free.
Right.
And it takes multiple sources of income to be able to have that freedom of time and freedom of choice to do things that you want to do. I always try to do this too. If you can't pay for it twice, you probably shouldn't buy it. So therefore, what are some of the best strategies and assets to use the financial markets with to have that opportunity to have freedom of time and choice?
Yeah. Well, the great thing is, Josh, these assets that I'm going to talk about not only give you the opportunity to generate income, which has to be something you get in a short-term basis, but they also do that with leverage, which gives you the opportunity to really outperform, to take a small amount of money and to have that multiply its impact on your returns. So the assets we're talking about, the options, futures, Forex, those are 3 of the potential income solutions that you can use. They can all be used on a short-term basis. And I think I mentioned this before in segments, that if you are looking for additional income, it means that it's something that you have to be able to access. That income, that profit has to be accessible at a short-term time frame. And that is that's going to vary from person to person. For some people, it's daily, some people weekly, some people maybe monthly. But if you're looking for additional income, it can't be something that you use, an investment that you use that you are supposed to hold on to for 10 or 20 years. That kind of defeats the purpose of trying to find that income strategy. So what we talk about in these classes, we talk about what the difference is between futures, Forex, and options. They're all great assets. Which one you use or which ones you use may be determined by which one you find more interesting or which one might just kind of fit in with your objectives. We look at everybody as a unique individual, and we put together a plan that includes maybe one or more of those assets that is based on where you are now and where you want to be in the future. What kind of freedom do you want? What kind of choices do you want to make? What do you want your life to look like in the future?
That being said, Al, let me ask you a question. So let's just say we have listeners listening right now, and great jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say they work during the day.
Sure.
Your typical 9 to 5. I mean, it's probably 8 to 6 nowadays. But your typical daytime working hours, corporate America, because we get a lot of people from corporate America that
We
come to
do.
us. What are their, because if they're working during the day, what are their opportunities? What are their options?
Yeah, well, let's look at the stock market. Stock market opens in the central part of the country at 8:30 and closes at 3 o'clock. Typically, people are working between those hours of 8:30 and 3 o'clock,
Hmm.
which makes it a little tougher to participate in the stock market. And stocks, by the way, that's a subject for that wealth portion of what we talk about. That is more of a long-term portfolio.
So let's make sure we don't downplay that. Let's cover that in the next segment.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But short term, futures, forex, and options can be used short term. Sometimes you can get in and out of something, and maybe on a daily basis. But our futures and forex also trade almost 24 hours a day, which gives you some opportunities to do this when you have the time to do it, or when you choose to do it.
So that's that freedom of time aspect. If you work during the day, it's open at night.
Exactly.
So say you put the kids to bed, or it's your downtime, and rather than wasting time sitting on the old tube watching TV, there might
Exactly.
be an opportunity to have that second source of income
Right.
strategies.
Yeah. And if there are shows you want to watch on that tube, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. Maybe you only take a half hour or 45 minutes or 20 minutes and you put a trade together and then go back to watching whatever you're watching on the tube or doing whatever you're doing. These are assets that you can trade, that all of the big pros trade. All of the hedge fund managers, all of the big firms, they trade that. If you've seen coverage of what the pits used to look like, the trading pits, looked like there were hundreds of people that were fighting each other trying to
Yeah.
do trades. Those were people that worked for these big firms. Do you think that a company like Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch or J.P. Morgan would put all of these traders on the floor, the trading floor, giving them millions of dollars to trade every day, and just have them put together one portfolio that they hold on to for 10 or 20 years,
No.
and then they just stand around playing games on their phone?
Well, that'd be a nice, easy job, wouldn't it?
It would be an easy job, but they probably wouldn't be paid very much for it. They're trading every day. They're trading sometimes numerous times a day. That doesn't mean you have to do that. But the point I'm making is that the institutions, the big banks, the Wall Street firms, they're using these short-term assets to boost their bottom line. And
Think about that for a second. If they're always consistently profitable, that's what they're using. So that's your first step. Know what they are using, what strategies they're using, and then do that. But you got to learn how to do it first.
Yeah, and one of the things that people, when we talk about futures, forex, and options, I know there are people out there going, "Well, those are too risky." I've heard that's way too risky for me. That's because Wall Street has convinced you to believe that, and that's not true. All of these assets can be used with risk management, actually with lower risk, less risk than with a typical stock portfolio, but the returns can be much greater. And if you have a portfolio that got hit maybe in 2022, or you find that you're going into retirement and you don't have enough money, then you need to do something that gives you more than average returns. These assets give you that opportunity. Just kind of as a rule of thumb, for example, with an options contract, if you do an options, which is a contract you do on something like a stock, if the stock's up 10%, the option will be up probably between 100 to 200%. So you get that potential benefit.
It's the efficiency of your capital.
It's definitely efficiency of your capital, which means you can have a small account but still participate with potentially big gains.
Yep. So let me address that. I want to clarify that too, because and we'll talk about stocks in the next segment, but if a trader or investor wants to trade stocks and they want to trade more than 4 times per week, you're actually required to have $25,000 in your account.
You're automatically considered a day trader.
Correct. Which
Brokers
is
have to do
quote
that.
unquote negative word, right? Blah blah blah. Anyways, so to clarify that, so let's just say somebody has between 2 and 5,000. Most brokers will just require that much, and that's it, to get in the futures market and the forex market.
Right.
So, and you can trade as many times per week. There's no limitations on that. You choose that. So there's more freedom of choice. So that's the great things. If you don't know what those are, now is the time, because we're seeing some of the best opportunities in the financial markets right now.
Truly.
There's these great moves every single day. You don't have to trade every day, but there's opportunities every day. So when you choose to do that, say you work during the day and you want to have that opportunity at night, it's there for you. And the best part about it, you don't have to drive somewhere to go. to do that. So to come into one of these investing classes that we do here locally, with these classes, we cover these assets, futures, what they are, why you would trade them, Forex, why you would trade them. We'll get into stocks, options, same thing. That way you can make the best decision for you and your family, what's best for you financially. So simply just text the word investing to the number 210 for 2 seats for an investing class right here at the Academy. Text investing to the number 210 for 2 seats. You get a text right back. Also, a link within that text, and you can pick your own date. Also, you can go to otamin.com. That's otaminn.com. Coming up next, we are going to get into those wealth assets. We will talk about stocks because we don't want to poo-poo them too much because they do have their place. It's a great asset to create wealth. This is Josh and Al, Investing and Trading Live. We will be right back.